Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The headliner came down very easily. The bad news is there is no access to the underside where that block is attached on the deck. Today is a fairly windless day, so today is the day that we're going to put this brand new furling line on the furling mechanism of the headsail. And something we've been keeping an eye on for the last couple of weeks was the furling line for the headsail. The outer sheath had started to fray. When we tried to reef, the sheath had completely separated and we could actually see the main core, and then the sheath got bunched up on the outside of the jammer and we just couldn't pull it through. So using electrical tape, this is the bit that we managed to neaten up and slim up, and that slipped quite easily through the jammer, and once it was through I was able to lock the jammer off. This little bit of black electrical tape is now our eyeball for how far we can actually let this furling line go out. This is our enforced reefing point basically, so for now we're having to run with a reefed headsail. I did have a read of the instructions which are not as instructional as I'd like them to be, but with the knowledge I gained there, and also from what I can remember when Mike and I took the line off the headsail when we first arrived in Turkey, I should be able to get this job done. The first screw to undo is this one here at the back, and once you've got that out, and you're careful not to drop it overboard, then this whole cowling can be lifted away. These two screws at the front are not actually screwed into anything, they're just holding the front end of the cowling into a hole either side of this black plastic. Now you don't really need to remove this piece of black plastic or even drop it down, it does hinge downwards, it comes down like that. It's already in the right position for the line coming in and out, and I'm a firm believer of letting sleeping dogs lie. Once this cowling is off, we can then get access to the plastic on the inside, and these two cracks, there's one here and one on the opposite side. And you need to get a firm screwdriver in there, a really big firm screwdriver in there, and really put some serious hard effort into prizing the two pieces of plastic apart. As you can see, the line is only held in by having this plate in there. So that screw that I've unscrewed backs onto this plate, and that plate holds the line in.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I can't show it you right now because I can't furl the drum any further, but this hole on this piece of plastic has a corresponding hole on the other side, and it has a great big flathead screw in it. And that flathead screw is attached to a plate of metal on the inside which holds the furling line firmly and securely into the drum. Putting it all back together is just a reverse of what you did to take it apart. And what I found worked best for putting the two internal pieces of plastic together was to wrap the furling line around them as you tried to squeeze them back together, and the furling line gives a much firmer grip than your hands can, and eventually they will click back into place, and you'll know when they're back into place.
You're awesome, Baz. You're a legend. Wow. Here.
That was not nerve-wracking in the slightest.
No.
Not at all.
I was clenching all sorts of things there. Teeth, stomach.
Well, here's an update on the autopilot situation. I've just been having a messenger conversation with Jim, who, if you'll recall, took our broken autopilot back to Marmaris on the boat Acheron. Well, he took it into Niall at NATO Marine Services and left it with him overnight. And the next day, when he went in to pick it up, Niall said, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's working perfectly," and showed him. Had it all connected up to all sorts of attenuators and displays and artificial rudder things and everything, all working perfectly. So that's the good news. Now, the problem is, we need to get our autopilot back to us. The autopilot's still somewhere in Turkey on Acheron with Jim, and of course we are in Greece. Now, sending things to a Greek address from Turkey can sometimes take an immense amount of time due to customs and all sorts of other problems. And of course that means we have to stay in one place waiting for the package to arrive. So what we decided to do is, it'll be quicker to get the autopilot couriered from Turkey to Australia in time for our son to bring it over from Australia to Greece. So that's the plan for that. Of course the bad news is, it means if there's nothing wrong with the autopilot, why did it fail on that day? And my thought is, it's got to be the wiring. The autopilot saga continues. I've said it before, and no doubt I'll be saying it again. On a boat, one job always leads to another job, and this time is no exception. You've just seen us replace the furling line for the headsail, and as I was leading the line back to the cockpit area, I looked at this little block. This is a cheek block or a foot block, and I noticed that we could actually see the ball bearings, or the nylon bearings in this case. Well, that means that the plastic that protects that area has broken away, and this is one of the original blocks that was fitted on the boat when she was born 24 years ago. Also, the little end of the pulley here is a little bit ragged, which means that it's going to be rubbing against the new line that we've put in, and that's not a good idea. So I've removed this from the front of the boat, and I've been looking online for replacements. This is a Harken cheek block, and they are super expensive. And the reason why I wanted to get the same one is because I didn't want to drill any more holes in the boat than necessary, but the price of these Harkens is just ridiculous. It prices them out in the market for us. We have looked at others online. They are available. We could probably get one sent to our son in Australia because he's coming out here next month. But again, the fittings are all different, and I'm not sure on delivery time and so on and so forth. There is, however, a plan B, and if you come forward, I'll show you. That block above the forward head on the starboard side is unused. It's the same shape, it's the same size, it's the same model. Of course, it does mean it's the same age, 24 years old, but it's the only choice we've got at the moment. So I've got to go inside, take the lining of the head down from the ceiling, and see if I can get access to the nuts, because when I took this one out, you have to access the nuts at the back and the bolts at the top. Let's go and play in the head, shall we? Here in the forward head, the first thing to do is to remove these little plastic caps where the screws hold the headliner up, and then we can get a Phillips head screwdriver in there. There's a lot of head words in this segment. In there, and unscrew this. We should just be able to leave that in place and pop the lining down over it. There is a light fitting here which has 4 screws, but it's possible that those screws only go into the liner and not right through into either some wood or GRP. We'll find out, of course, when we take these screws out. Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The headliner came down very easily. The bad news is there is no access to the underside where that block is attached on the deck. If we're outside this window and go in that direction to around about here, that's where the block sits. It would appear that if that block is attached in the same way as the block that we've removed is attached, then we'd have to take out this whole port light, and that really is too big of a job just for that block. Well, we've just made an executive decision, and because we can't take a chance on that block over there on the starboard side being fitted exactly the same way, we do run the risk of trying to pull it out and then having the nut get stuck because of the Sikaflex that was put into the hull to make it watertight when it was first installed, and then having the deck fitting, the block, half in and half out with no way of retightening it because we've got no access to the nut and no way of getting it fully out. So rather than run that risk, we've decided to just pull the line through, I think it's called a bullseye, which just basically guides the line back here. It actually looks better because the line is not actually rubbing against the grippy GRP of the deck, which is what causes the lines to fray in the first place. So,
But it is a bit of a potential trip hazard.
there is a slight trip hazard, but we're aware of it. It's better than the other hazard of having a block half in and half out, swinging around on deck and leaking and all that kind of crap. So can't take that chance. But we will order a block from Australia and get our son to bring that out and replace it at the front at some point. A couple of our subscribers have asked, what do we do? What is life like when we are at anchor? Well, I can tell you it does involve a lot of that. This is where we both edit videos, write our blogs, and deal with all the social media presence we have, and generally stay connected to the internet and you guys. And if it gets too hot or we finish work for the day, then we can head up into the cockpit and have a swim.
I have to say, I do enjoy this part of living on a boat.
And at the end of the day, we can sit in the cockpit and enjoy a nice cold drink while watching the sunset. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome on board our latest patrons. That is Boston and Piper Elmore. Cheers you guys, thanks a lot. Well, that took longer than expected. One of our cooking gas cylinders ran dry and I decided that today was the day, or this morning was the morning, that I was going to get it replaced. So I asked at the hardware chandlery store in town and they went, no, we don't do it. It's the petrol station you need, mate. Now I was quite happy about that because I can see the petrol station from here. It's 200 meters that way. So this morning I took our gas canister there and showed it to the guy and he went, oh no, not this petrol station. It's the petrol station on the road to Bologna. I went, oh. Do you have a motorbike? I said, no, I'm on foot. Oh, well, it's 2 kilometers. And I went, 2 kilometers is not bad. I can do a 4 kilometer round trip. As I turned to leave, the key to what he said was, it's just after the hill. Everything in Greece is up a hill. So long story short, a 4 kilometer round trip. Now we have a gas canister. And if you want to get one for your boat while you're in Milos, I would say, get a taxi unless you want to be sweaty. So now, after doing that, I'm going to do this. Oh, and one more thing I learned about Milos, they have hedgehogs here. And the reason I know that is because I saw several of the flat pack variety along the roadside as I walked.
Better?
That's much better.
Next week on Sailing ABC, we celebrate my birthday, we have an internet win, and we explore some of Milos Island. If you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and ding the bell icon so that you get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching.